What is up, everybody? Welcome in. We are live on Boston Concessions. Oh my God. Woo! Can you tell me what type of night has just transpired? Both nights. Wow. Saturday, Sunday, it has just been an absolute amazing proportion of everything I've seen so far. Wow! I got the headphones on. I've got everything going. Oh! First off, welcome everybody. I'm your host, Topher. This is Boston Concessions. We're a Boston-based sportscast brought to you by SSBN, Small State Big Network. The boys down to Rhode Island, they are infatuated with sports. So am I, henceforth, why we're here. All right. Before I get to the mania, the madness, the everything, the peace that you've all been waiting for. First off, to those who celebrate, happy Easter. To those who don't celebrate, happy Zombie Jesus Day. To those who celebrate something else, happy holiday to you. To those who believe in everything else, happy Sunday. And to also everybody around, I apologize, it's the end of the holiday season, it's the end of the weekend. Who the heck knows what's going on? But we'll recap one thing because I will go into this at a later time and date. So hats off to the Celtics. Winners of game one. They did absolutely amazing against Miami. Not Miami, Orlando. It was the Florida team. Okay? Anybody else want to sweat me? Because right now, the way it looked, 103-86, game one. I was a little disappointed in Tatum and Brown. They kind of weren't there. They had some flashy dunks. They had some work within it. But overall, the team itself carried, got the win. That's all I care about. Okay. As promised, I went into this weekend thinking to the fact that I was either going to be blown away or I was going to be heavily disappointed because between last year and everything leading up to this Wrestlemania has been absolutely monumental. Between the Jey Uso Gunther, between the John Cena heel turn, between the Cody Rhodes involving with The Rock, the everything else, the intellectual properties of the female main event, the hype of how I felt between the Royal Rumble winner of the female variety. There was a lot going on. And we're going to get into it. Cheers. Water. Because we're going to be doing a lot of talking. So getting my hydrating in right now. Yes. But that's not what I wanted to do. No. That was completely off-site and off-centered. And I have no idea what's going on. I broke it. This is sometimes why you have people to handle this. I got to hit the buttons on the left. On the left. Ready? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we welcome you to this podcast talking about the absolute wonder of it all. It is almost as big as the World Series. It is just as big as the Super Bowl. I think it blows to the Stanley Cup away, which is sad, and it also rocks the foundation of the NBA Finals. because everybody watches it and talks about it. We're talking about WrestleMania. WrestleMania 41, the Night of Nights, Las Vegas, Nevada. Oof! 2 nights, Saturday, Sunday. And if you didn't watch it while you were puffing up because it was 420, I don't know what to tell you. But there was open availability. Yes, the Night of Nights is a tremendous night to actually get your vibe in. You get everything that you want. You get spice. You get attractive men. You get very attractive females. You get body worked up people. You get what people call drama or a soap opera done in men's form that characterizes violence, according to some. To us, it's just a way of getting down, airing out your grievances that some guy gives you, or multiple people, or the next person who's in line to steal a piece of gold that goes around your waist. That's right. This is the monumental day that was started by Vincent Kennedy McMahon so long ago in the early 80s that has become the juggernaut that it is. 41 years ago, this man brought WrestleMania to Madison Square Garden. Some of us followed it then. Some of us follow it now. There was also a gap to where, like I said, no WrestleMania. But now I'm kind of sucked back in. What does this mean for everything? It means, dude, it's something to enjoy. Because the attitude, the presence, the ambiance, the everything that WrestleMania brings. Oh, it's just rolled into it. And I love it. I do. Between the star-studded people that you see. I saw, and I'm a Niners fan as well as a Patriots fan, so I can say, I saw George Kittle chugging a beer. George Kittle. Sitting there, proud WWE fan, proud fanatic of it all, chugging a beer. If that doesn't get you, I don't know what will. I had friends down there. They were having a grand time. They had a joyous time. They had a luxurious time. I had some people that sat back here, talked with me while we were watching it. I had some people in my Discord actually watching the event with me, enjoying every minute of it. And I had fun. So what did everything look like, though? Night 1. The really big night of nights. I don't know why that's so small. Can we enlarge that for everybody? There we go. So for those of you who are on YouTube, you can actually see what I have here for you. This is the WrestleMania. This is night 1. This is April 19th, live. The main event, Seth freaking Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and CM Punk having Paul Heyman in his corner. The other main event, the Ring General Gunther as the heavyweight champion against Jey Uso for the heavyweight title. We had the women's heavyweight title, Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton, Tiffany being the champion. We then had the U.S. Championship, Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight. The Fight of Fights, because someone decided to do something wrong. Jade Cargill versus Naomi. The Tag Team Championship match between the War Raiders against New Day. And then what should have been Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano ended up being Rey Fenix against El Grande Americano. For Rey Mysterio was undoubtedly injured. So it did not go all too well as expected. So that was night 1. We will recap on night 2 and everything like that as we go. But I will say we will start with the first match of the night, which ended up being Gunther versus Rey Mysterio. It was probably a highlight match. It was up, it was down. It took 25 minutes to get both of their entrances done, situated, because I believe everybody at Alliance Stadium was yeeting. Because that's what Jimmy Uso does. He yeets. And we like yeets. I'm a big fan of Jimmy. I've seen how he's grown from the tag team wrestler into the main event status man that he is, carrying the tune of crowds and everything alike. He's likable. He's a product. He's well funded and ready to go. So now he's up against Gunther. And the match was solid. Purebred, going through, motions and everything taken care of. Everything else just done as it is. And at the end of the day, by the way, this is spoilers. If you haven't watched WrestleMania, yeah, you're probably going to know by Monday night anyway, so who cares? Gunther taps out. Jey Uso, champion. Who got excited? This guy. Why? Jey Uso? A lot of people say he doesn't deserve the belt. A lot of people say to the fact that like they need to keep the belt on Gunther. The problem is Gunther was really boring. Don't get me wrong. Gunther is an amazing product. He's really good as a heel. Okay, he doesn't really go over as a good guy, as like some people will say. He's likable to hate, but for whatever reason, you can't really do much with him on a title reign. They found that out when they did the Intercontinental Championship, and then they gave it to Sami Zayn because, well, he kind of was a little bland. He actually worked up a little bit more, got into like the scene of the heavyweight championship, and it became like a little bit more enthralled to where like you could actually get behind it. But then it kind of like started going sour. Maybe it was to the fact of like what he saw. Maybe it was to the fact of like, you know, he wasn't ready. Maybe there just should have been like a little bit more workup that he could have did. I'm personally not knowing, but I do know to the fact that like it, you know, Jey Uso was the workup. He was the one that brought you in. He was basically the one that got behind everything going along the way. And for me, it was just the hype that Jimmy kind of like got the step over of tag team status to climbing the ladder, especially the Intercontinental reign. He had a very good Intercontinental reign as it was. He mixed well with the people he was working. But a lot of people, when they say, oh, well, Jimmy kind of didn't deserve this. If you knew how many times Jimmy was losing, and then how much Jimmy was basically giving you everything and a half in order to be what he was, you might think otherwise between, hey, Jimmy had it going on. And there's no reason whatsoever that you should like literally say, you know, Jimmy's the guy. And he is. So to Jey Uso, congrats. Like I said, the match had an abundance to it. It was really good. I'm going to give my rating for night A and night B. I know what basically like everything is basically going to come down to. Oh, what'd you think of night 1 between night 2? There's always that thing. Hey, how was 1 versus 2? Well, you know. But between the match, solid B+. Not going to give it the A. There was a little bit of junkiness. But all in all, it kept you entertained. It kept you enthralled. It kept you like where you needed to be. It gave like proper highlights for like what you were looking for. But it kept your attention because I think people wanted to see, for the ones that were rooting for Jimmy, or I'm sorry, for Jay, when he was going to win it, how he was going to win it. And I know a lot of people will sit there like, oh, Gunther tapping out. Like, well, no, Gunther tapping out. You pissed Jay off. You basically went above and beyond with like a lot of things to him. So he just basically gave it back to you in full. Just the way to look at it. Jey Uso's your champion. If anybody had that on your bingo card, congratulations. Next match that did not come out as I expected. So this is the New Day versus the War Raiders or Viking Raiders or whatever friggin' name they want to call themselves now, because like, you know, we can't call ourselves like things, but yet you can have like Motor City Machine Gun. Dumb. Well, either which way, the Bearded Brethren versus the angry prophets of everything that like used to pitch pancakes. I'm going to say the match was not to my expectation. It was a little bland. It was there was good back and forth. Okay, I'll definitely give it that. There was back and forth. There was things that like basically got into it. There wasn't really much of an appeal. You know, like, I mean, tag teams like used to be, oh, yes, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to get this involved. We're going to make everything happen. And this is a match that like you saw on SmackDown. You saw on like, you know, another telecast. And it for WrestleMania, it was really soft. Maybe. I'm trying to think like how to properly say it. But my vote for it was basically a solid C. The men went in, they threw themselves around, they made, you know, pretty good moves as they normally do. Kofi and Xavier Woods, very, very talented. The Viking Raiders themselves, very, very talented men, especially for big men. Like, big men being thrown around is great. Especially when they're throwing themselves around, it's even better. But like I said, the match lacked a lot of... I don't want to say it was a bathroom break match, because there were a few. But this could have been actually handled on SmackDown. This could have been handled on Raw. I feel to the fact that like getting another tag team or two involved in this. Hold on, gotta reset my camera here. I feel like getting another tag team or two would have been completely and utterly understandable. It would have been something that would have brought more attention to the match. It would have brought more things to light, more so than like what you basically saw. Like I said, it was just, for what you look at in the match itself, like it was just kind of flat. And I'm not saying it was horrible. I know I did talk to somebody that was like, "Oh my god, like I can't breathe because that match was bad." And I said, "Like it wasn't all bad. Like, there was some good moves. Like, guys are in there to like be in there." Um, but at the end of the day, Kofi and Xavier beat the Viking Raiders, War Raiders, whatever the fuck their Raider name is. Okay, War Raiders. It's right in front of my face. Listen, they've had like 15 names. I don't care. But Kofi and Xavier took the titles. They won. Congrats. Ah. It's really this hard sometimes when you do also have like some of the boring matches that you have to get through. And I'm not saying everything was boring or bad or otherwise. It was just, let's put it this way. There's always going to be somebody that thinks, hey, this match was off the planet. It was off the reservation. It was great. 5 stars. Woo woo. And then you get to somebody else that comes in and was like, you thought that was 5 stars? Dude, that was like 2 or 3 stars. That was completely and utterly, I didn't like it. Well, understandable. Okay. Did I get the match? Sure. Was I prompted to it? Yes. Did I feel to the fact that another tag team would have made it a lot better? God, yes. Do I feel that there should have been more involved with the match? Yes. Ladder match, falls count anywhere, no DQ, no this, no that. Break your heads open. I don't care. The match for WrestleMania just lacked a little something. Great that there's new champions. Great that there was a lot of things that happened. A lot of things that basically came like over the hedge. That's great. I always get into that. And I'm always really excited when that happens. But this match was, again, just lacking something that kept me on my interest. I'm happy this is new champions. It's just one of those days that you stroll along. Welcome to Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Now, there's a lot of things in this match. And first off, for anybody to even understand this, I will say this wholeheartedly. I love the women's division. The women's division has come up in ranks over the years, given monumental to where like they've even headlined WrestleMania. And I get more excited to like actually see very talented and very charismatic female wrestlers get into the stage and portray what they're doing. Going for championships, putting it all on the line in order to be exactly what you are on a grand stage like WrestleMania itself. Jade Cargill versus Naomi should have been the pre-show. Granted, this whole crap started months ago. Jade Cargill got injured. She was thrown on a car. They thought Liv Morgan and Raquel did it. It ended up being Naomi. Naomi goes off with Bianca, becomes the, tag team champions for the women's division. It had a lot of build-up. And I swear to God, if you did Naomi versus insert this woman here, it might have had a little bit more pop and fray. Instead, we get Jade. The wannabe pop culturist Storm chick, mind you, great. You want to be Storm. Cool. Understandable. Storm from the X-Men is a bomb-ass chick. Love her. But when your whole synopsis is like the strong woman and you're coming out to that, I'm surprised Marvel hasn't said, no. And in my eyes, between the Royal Rumble with Jade's introduction to Jade Cargill carrying herself as she's been throughout the rankings of the months, to being injured, to getting a little bit more ring rust off, to handling a few other things, I don't think the Jade Cargill project in WWE is working. If you want to hype her, put her in NXT. See what she does with everybody down there. As of the main roster, I don't feel it. I haven't been feeling it. It doesn't move me. Why doesn't it move me? Because exactly as the match was, Naomi had some pops, some quips, and Naomi herself is very charismatic in the ring. Very, very careful, very, very cumbersome, where she has the moments of carrying another member in the match with her, which is why she's very popular in herself between the backstage folk and also people she wrestles. She did put on her performances. She did give her all. There was enough, especially with the new look, the new caution. I've got an attitude. I'm ready to fight you now. I again just didn't feel it for what the match was. I feel like this could have been a pre show. Like, hey, Saturday night's main event where nobody is watching this film, but the match is going on. Oh, by the way, did you know these people had a match? No. Great. That's what we like. That should have been in there, taken and dropped right in the dumpster. But it wasn't the worst match of the night. I haven't even gotten there yet. That's the worst part about it. And we've got a little bit of a ways to go. Oh boy. Now, this match, LA Knight, Jacob Fatu. Solid match. Back and forth. Both competitors battling it out, putting themselves on the line, drawing the position of what it was. Jacob basically showing to the fact that not only is he an absolute powerhouse, but he's a magician with the aerial acrobats, that his agility is just outstanding. And then you've got LA Knight, who can carry a tune, carry the match, work it as it needs to be, and get you really hyped for being in your seat. Back and forth, absolutely. The match throwdown, oh yeah, it was worth it. It was worth it, but like, you see the resilience of LA Knight and Jacob Fatu as they both battled, prime for position, especially the BFT from Jacob Fatu jumping and then LA Knight catching him in midair with a BFT to come down with it. Beautiful. You would have thought the solidification of the match was right there. No. Jacob showed resiliency. Getting up, battling, and then moonsault, top rope. 1, 2, 3. Jacob Fatu, your new U.S. champ. Man, it was a night for, the Anali family. 2 winners. And here's the beauty part. He's celebrating in the ring, and as he's like exiting, who's by ringside is Haku. And Haku looks amazing. I think he's like 90. But he looked great. Not as well as like when he was in one of the original WrestleManias. But just some gray hair. All in all, this match, again, I give it a B+. There was a lot of hype with it. It kept me like grilled because, again, was LA Knight going to withhold? Was Jacob Fatu going to go forward with the belt? Was there more to it? And I just saw basically two combatants going head to head, toe to toe. And it was like they wanted to be there. They wanted to give their all. They wanted to fight tooth and nail. They wanted to slap everybody around. And that's exactly what they did. Beautiful match. Beautiful aspect. And it got right down to the nitty gritty. Jacob just being the better man. Great. All for that match. Now, this would have been probably really cool if Rey Mysterio was the man to go into WrestleMania and fight El Grande Americano. So, who is El Grande Americano, you ask? It's not a drink that you get at Starbucks. It's not something that's just completely out there in any which way, shape, or form. It's basically, in more ways than one, we may think it's Chad Gable. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out and say, hey, it's this one. You know, it could also be, hey, let's bring back Hornswoggle and let's just say it was him. The benefit to the match itself was superb. Because Rey Fenix, who is a younger version, and I believe he's a relative of Penta's, could be wrong, he filled in, and for the excitement of it all, the match looked pretty clean. It was good, but El Grande Americano likes the slippery stuff. Now, here's where I go wrong with this. So El Grande Americano takes a metal piece of metal, and he puts it right here. So it's under the mask, but it's against his forehead. Now he's going to use this as a weapon. He himself is not going to be affected by it, except for a little staggering. But the other person feels the effects. Now he went to go utilize this and was thwarted, only to have Rey Fenix kick him right across the head with the curvature part of his leg. Injuring the leg, put him down, and then he went for a top rope aerial. And El Grande Americano headbutted him where he fell. That was all she wrote. It was 1, 2, 3. El Grande Americano works again to where he does not in any which way, shape, or form have to show his face, or we know who he is. Was utter disappointment. All in all, the match was a B-, borderline C+. I've seen the luchador, hey, people got to act like one, and they got to throw on the mask, and oh, who is this? Who's that guy? The storyline has to be the right amount of way. I mean, like, let's put it this way. Nothing was greater than seeing the Blue Blazer. And the Blue Blazer, of course, if you're a kid like me when the Blue Blazer was around, You just knew him as the Blue Blazer. You didn't know who the hell he was. You didn't care who the hell he was. But then you found out it was Owen Hart. And there was supposed to be something that said, hey, I'm Owen Hart. And unfortunately, that didn't come to pass. But the aspect of what you look at with that type of story arc is, can you keep it under wraps to where like you don't know who the person is? That's the pure, hey, let's do this question. I have a friend of mine who thinks the El Grande Americano gimmick is funny. I'll agree, it's kind of funny, but to where it's been done before and the storyline is kind of meh. That's the part that gets me. Now, if El Grande Americano was running down the ring and he was just thwarting matches, you know, I'd be like, yeah, but he's been wrestling these matches and you kind of know it's Chad Gable. I don't mean to like, you know, like, hey, I'm like telling people about Santa Claus and everything here, but this is Chad Gable we're talking about. It's kind of disappointing. And to me, yeah, I would have just expected just a little bit better. So overall, match was good. It didn't kind of pique my interest for as much as I thought it would. And it didn't hold water as much as like I thought like it was literally going to be like, oh, wow, man. Like, you know, back and forth, lucha wrestling. Woo! I mean, it was okay. Not going to say it was horrible, but it wasn't up to the standards. But it was still better than the next match I'm going to talk about. Because we're going to have a holla hoot. And I don't know if people are going to hate me, love me, or otherwise. But we'll see what happens. Because this match, Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, this is the bathroom break that you kind of take a massive shit for. And I'm not talking about what was in the ring. I'm talking just in general. And I'll explain why, because like when we go into night 2, there's going to be like a connection that I made to somebody. Because there was a person that came back for night 2. And their comeback was 3,000 times better than that of Charlotte Flair's. I mean, hell, I'll even say it right now when they weren't even at WrestleMania. Alexa Bliss came back, wrestled like she meant it, especially in the Royal Rumble. I think she's been in 1 or 2 other matches, and she's looked stellar. Charlotte Flair looks like somebody put a turd in the punch bowl, and now nobody's going to drink out of it. Heavily disappointing. And mind you, I can look at like what I said to a friend of mine is like, look at the outfit that Charlotte is wearing. She's got no ass. Like, the trunks were too big. You could almost see to the other side, like there's ass, fabric, and there was a way you could see through. And there was another thing underneath, thankfully. But it's the tastefulness. I haven't even mentioned the wrestling aspect yet. Okay? Now, mind you, I know Tiffany Stratton is everybody's like love doll. She came out. Her entrance was that of a Barbie thing. Okay? I heard Michael Cole say it was from Mattel directly. Whoa. It just... The aspects and idea of Tiffany Stratton are kind of boring. Maybe it's because she's basically playing the blonde next door or the blonde, that like has to tell you, like, what's up? I don't like those types of people. Okay, because they think they carry themselves better than others. And it's not a proper villain. But then again, when Tiff is supposed to be the baby face, to me it doesn't play off well. Like, how do you villainize that? How do you baby face that? You know? It's like people watched Fran Drescher because, well, she was kind of attractive. And the skit she did in The Nanny was just basically, hey, it was all gag. Thank friggin' God. Because when you actually heard Fran Drescher talk, you were expecting the shrill laugh that would basically come off and be like, oh God, she's going to do it. And she would laugh normally. And you'd be like, oh, I like this girl again. But then you watch The Nanny, it's like, ugh. Cringe. That's how I feel with Tiff. It's like, okay, taking how the presentation is in the ring. I mean, not in the ring, just like the presentation herself. Okay? I'm not about the look. I'm not about the act, because it's basically borderline, and anybody can get me on this. I don't care. It's basically borderline Sabrina Carpenter. I don't like Sabrina Carpenter. Okay? It's, yeah, granted, it was something about like the era of Britney Spears, Mandy Moore, Christina Aguilera, like, girls like that. I mean, even Taylor Swift, like, I'll give it, she puts on a fucking monumental show. But does she like barricade her ass all over the place? Is she like doing things like that? No. But it's like Sexual Appetite 9000. The sexual appetite should be teased, not like, oh God. Like, Attitude Era was bra and panties. Okay, fine. Okay. But the shaking, these girls kind of like didn't have anything else to it. Okay. A lot of them were not wrestlers. They were divas, hence why the Divas Championship. Okay. It wasn't until you had, Lita into I almost want to say Tiffany Stratton. Oh God. You could tell it's been that kind of night. I can't figure this out. Ah! But yes, when you had like Trish Stratus, who could throw a candle to throwing a punch. When you had Paige, who could throw a candle because she's been wrestling since she was 12. Those are the girls that carried themselves. They made names for themselves. They didn't walk around like every single time Brian Payne's match. But like there was reason for it. The Bellas didn't flaunt themselves like absolute craziness, and they didn't like, I mean, yeah. The Bellas, like when they came out, they did their little twirl. That was basically their signature. Hey, look at me turn. And they had like a little bit more of like, the spunkiness and everything like that, like on the microphone. But again, this is prior to now, where you have the Rhea Ripleys, you have the Bianca Belairs, you have the Io Skies, you have the former Charlotte Flair. who started a women's revolution movement with Becky Lynch, Paige, the people who came up from NXT wanting to be champions, like Bailey, Sasha Banks. These were people that could wrestle. This, whatever the hell this match was basically a bitch slap fest that was between a Slim Jim that nobody wanted versus an over dolled up hype fest that you could see get washed off during the sweat. Look, I don't know if it's Tiffany wasn't happy. I don't know if Charlotte wasn't happy. I don't know if it was to the fact that like Charlotte's still mad that Andrade left her. I couldn't really tell you. But Lord knows my statements and facts of how I've felt about Charlotte Flair. She's overhyped. Her dad is her only namesake. Back then, she had a plethora of good moves. Now it's kind of like she was eh. And before the injury, she was getting stale. She didn't change the gimmick of the Flair name. I mean, hell, if she went by Charlotte Flair, and didn't carry on Daddy's Ensemble, made it her own, I'd probably be rooting for the girl. Ric Flair is a staple, an icon. Right now, he's probably canceled beyond belief for like half the stuff he said. But I myself just can't get into what this was. Because, again, when Charlotte first came on the scene, her NXT stuff, it was stuff to watch. It was memorable. It was stuff you got into. Now it's like you let kind of the limelight take over and you kind of washed up within where you are. I'm kind of disappointed because this is also a Charlotte Flair that I expected that when she came back from WrestleMania, and this is the part that I really hate. There could have been somebody else sitting there versus Tiffany Stratton, and it would have probably been a solid. Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair. I don't know. Tiffany Stratton versus Bailey. I mean, there's monumental like amounts of like NXT product that you could have gave them the hype to like actually win the Royal Rumble and like actually have them go forward. Instead, no, you chose Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair, who when she entered the Royal Rumble looked like trash. Ring rust showed. Everything else went off like it was her third time wrestling. Ronda Rousey came into the WWE looking better than Charlotte Flair in the Royal Rumble. And now you get no ring time. She doesn't have a match. And my wonder is, did Charlotte not get a match because you were worried how she was going to look, how she was going to feel, like everything that she was going to do? So when she went against Tiffany Stratton, it was basically, oh, she's a pro. She'll be able to, because see, the difference is you're sending John Cena in the ring against Cody Rhodes. So when you're sending John Cena in the ring against Cody Rhodes, John Cena's been in and out and otherwise. He's an icon. He is who he is. Okay? We all know that John can only do like 15 wrestling moves and that's it. But he's killer on the mic. He's promo 9000. He basically makes everybody else around him look good. It's his job. So when John Cena sells his 15 moves and then hits you randomly with a 16, and you go, oh, John Braun learned another move, and you don't see it ever again. It's like, eh, okay. John Cena, wow. John Cena brought cake. Charlotte Flair doesn't even bring you cake. I think the word I was looking for was flat as a table. Like, disappointing. Like, not only to the fact that, like, you could tell, and listen, I'm for people that want to get any type of whatever you want done. I've even joked around to the fact that, like, when Charlotte Flair got her mole removed, it was a source of her powers because that's when she started to suck. Okay? She came back, the wart, mole, whatever the frig was like over here, was gone. And whatever she was doing in the ring was horrible. Like, even the moonsault to, like, the outside was just, man, it was like Swiss cheese, man. This match this match to me technically made, like, and I know, I said the Jade Cargill Naomi match was horrible. This thing made that look like a main event status match. That's how bad this was. Granted, the Mattel Barbie doll entrance that Tiffany had, great. The ball of balls of, getting dropped off in a Rolls Royce, and having a valet open the door to show that you're the queen. Congrats. Like, you also had, again, the Ric Flair-esque wear. I understand you're the daughter of Rick, but if I was the son of Ric Flair, I'd be doing something my own way. Look at Randy Orton. Look at Randy. When he came into the WWE, he was wearing a cowboy hat, and it was something like to gimmick the fact of Cowboy Bob Orton. He then developed his own style. He became the Apex Predator. He became Randy Orton, the man who dropped you with an RKO from nowhere. He was the legend killer. He still is the legend killer. He's the every guy killer. Randy is one of those guys that no matter what, his matches are solid. His matches are good. His matches hype everybody around him. So what does that say about everything else? Charlotte Flair is not that. Charlotte Flair went into NXT as Charlotte Flair. She was Charlotte. That was it. She never had the Flair name under her. And then she developed it. Oh, I'm going to be my dad's daughter. I'm going to be me. And whatever the hell she came up with, it was trash. I mean, there was so many storylines and angles and everything. It was like, can you just get it over with, please? Have the match. Move along. I don't care about this. I don't want to see this. I'm not interested in this. And then it's like, you talk about somebody that, like, can't hold a candle to the wrestling. If halfway through, if she went through a gimmick change and she was more enthralled with, let me show you how the queen works, because, like, let's put it this way, Stephanie McMahon went through the same thing. She was the $1 billion princess to daddy's princess to, like, the woman who married Triple H to now she's the queen of the WWE. She's still called the $1 billion princess, but her attitude, demeanor, everything has changed. Stephanie McMahon has gone through more adaptness to who she's been And she's been in the industry since she was a child. She even stated on night 2 when she came out, she said, "Oh my god, I remember when we were at Caesar's Palace in Vegas, and it was WrestleMania, and I was 16 years old." And I'm like, "Damn, bitch, you old." I'm not far behind her, but I'm older than WrestleMania. And my point, but of course, my point to this is Charlotte has only adapted to being one thing, the daughter of Ric Flair. Could she have done anything completely different? Yes. You know, she could have actually been the Tiffany Stratton. She could have done the Tiffany Stratton gimmick like years ago and probably gotten away with it. Probably been like everything. The problem basically comes down to now when you look at Charlotte Flair, and like I said, body modifications, anything like that, if that's what you want to do, I'm for it. But when you're already beautiful, when you're already something that people admire, and you go to change it more, you kind of kill the aspect because now it's not natural. You've basically enhanced it. Like, I'll be the guy here for the moment. If you give me a woman in any which way that, you know, if you give me a woman that had natural boobs, B cup, kind of an okay butt, I'm all for it. There's something to grab? Great, cool. I'm being the guy for the moment. When she comes home with the size F, like ginormo jumbos, and I have to sit there and go, what in the dilated plastic is in your like body? It's a turnoff. And I'm not saying like I was attracted to Charlotte Flair, but could I say she was an attractive woman? Yes. Can I say that now? Uh, uh, no, no. And that has nothing to do with how I felt about the match. Match was just, it was swill, it was garbage. I just didn't like it. Was sloppy, is basically what it was. Going back to the match, going back to everything else, the match was sloppy upon anything, and it just wasn't something that I wanted to see. I felt that the WWE could have did so much better with picking a person for Tiffany Stratton to face, and I didn't see that. You know, could have even been Alexa Bliss, but I know they have plans for Alexa Bliss. They have plans for everything else they're doing. That's fine. That's great. Um, you know, it's just certain aspects of what I see, what I do, and what I look at. It's not the same. So, but that was probably like the least likeliest match that I saw all night, and it was painful, very painful. Thankfully, this match was the final match of the night. This is probably one of the absolute matches that floors me. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk. Three men basically at war to go at war with everybody. It's exactly what it needed. It was exactly everything that it was. The match was pure. It was what we've come between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. It's exactly what we expected between Rollins and Punk. You know, with the animosity, with the just attitude, with the basic flair for "dude, I hate you." Yeah, I know I hate you too. And they played it beautifully. And then there was the favorite. Roman Reigns coming out by himself. And I will say this, Seth does very good for WrestleMania because he can get his little flair, he can get his dramaticness, he can get everything that he needs to for his entrance. Roman Reigns was pure. Coming down with the Ula fallout, basically like sporting like a brand new pair of Jordans that were basically like trained for the ring. And then everything else between it is exactly what you want to see when you're dealing with it. But like between the entrance, it just had this vibe that screams like just looking at the picture right now, like Roman looks like the dominant guy. And that's what the entrance looked. It looked dominant. It looked like it meant to take over. And it wasn't anything flashy. It wasn't anything like pop. It wasn't, oh my God. It was good. He went out. But then there was the beauteous part that made me extremely happy. The fact that this is CM Punk's main eventing WrestleMania status. Um, and then someone tipping me the fact that like don't be surprised if you see a band that does his entrance theme there. And I'm like reading the article and like In Living Color, which did the Cult of Personality song, which is what CM Punk utilizes, was in Vegas or near Vegas already doing a show. So WWE got them. They were there. They performed Cult of Personality right in front of the crowd. And the beauty part was is that you're getting right up there. CM Punk's coming out. He's got Paul Heyman with them. He goes to like say it's clobbering time, moves his watch. He doesn't have his watch. Heyman goes, I've got mine. But within the whole aspect, right there is the lead singer of In Living Color. And Punk goes up and puts his arm around him. And what does he like? What does the lead singer do? He pulls his phone out and takes a selfie with Punk right there, stage of WrestleMania. Beautiful. Beautiful. But then the match. After, 12 minutes, everybody gets in the ring. There's back and forth. There's everything that's going on. Beautifulness going like between A and B. And I gotta say, it's beauty beyond compare because it was 1 minute, it's Roman Seth, CM Punk getting involved, dropping like a couple things. It kept going and moving, and it kept everything nice and fresh and good and wholesome. It was probably it was magic. But then there's Heyman grabbing a chair, and he's trying to figure out who to give it to. Does he give it to CM Punk, who he's in his corner? Does he give it to Roman Reigns because he's seeing his tribal chief? Well, he gives it to CM Punk. And he's about to watch Punk lay this chair right on Roman Reigns. Instead, he gives him a low blow. That's right. Paul Heyman dropped down to a knee, stuck his hand out, and went right up to Punk. Takes the chair, walks to Roman, gives him the chair, my tribal chief, and he lays right into Punk 1, 2, 3 times. And you're like, damn, he's like unloading. And then Seth is getting up. It's a perfect time. Roman getting ready with the chair. Heyman rooting him on. And Heyman gives Roman a low blow. And gives the chair to Seth Rollins. Where he uses it, curb stomps, calls it a day, and 1, 2, 3, Seth Rollins, your winner, and new Paul Heyman guy. There's parts that I can understand with Seth. He's got probably one of the most charismatic songs. He's got charisma in the ring. He's not my favorite because there are some things about him that are just plain enough. He's a good wrestler. He sells beautifully in the ring. Why does he need Paul Heyman? He had the authority back in the day. And he's been solid by himself. There is no height that I can see Paul Heyman doing anything. Unless this was a favor for not curb stomping him a couple nights ago. That's the only thing I can think of. We'll have to see. Night one in itself, I'd probably have to say it was a solid C plus. The standouts were the Gunther Jey Uso match, the LA Knight Jacob Fatu, and really the main event. I mean, there wasn't really anything that hyped up night one. The problem I did have, though, with night one that I did not like at all was to the fact that they did the Gunther Jey Uso match first. I felt like that's even though they were doing Rollins, Reigns, Punk. I think if they did that one like either center or like next to last, it would have been fine. To the fact that like they did it first to get it out of the way, I didn't feel the vibe to that. there was a lot to it that, like, just wasn't in the standard. But that, of course, is night one. I'll tell you, a lot of things to the fact of, like, night one I wasn't a fan of. Certain ways of how they did the booking, um, the control. I mean, like, the entrances were fantastic. Um, they're always hyped to, like, different because, again, it's basically like the Super Bowl of the WWE. It's once a year. To the fact that you're gonna basically put your best, coat on. So this is where, like, you wear your Sunday best and you basically ride it out. So what went on here? Well, it was basically your prompt nights of I'm not gonna watch the whole thing Saturday and Sunday, so I'm gonna have to, like, choose between Saturday night and Sunday. But then the replay goes. Um, does night one have replay value? Maybe, like, seeing Jey Uso become the champ. Um, maybe a couple things here or there. Um, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, just basically the whole match. That has the replay value. That's basically where you hold yourself, and it's perfect. Um, but no, yeah, night one, DC plus. I mean, there were two flops to the night, two very very bottom mid like things. But then, like I said, the LA Knight Jacob Fatu match, the Gunther Jey Uso match, um, and then the main event, like, basically brought it back up. I mean, I would have did a solid D if I saw, you know, those three other matches and just like, oh my god, the four matches. You know, I mean, you're 3 for 7 on like good matches. Oh, that's under 50%. That's that's almost a failing grade. But there was some hype to like certain other things that like you got to give it you got to give it the spot. And I gotta say, I didn't put a picture in here for it. Um, but the joke that I've seen about WrestleMania is knowing to the fact that like it's an event. You're basically like now booking out 2 days. Not only are you booking out 2 days, but you're getting yourself involved for like Friday night. It's where you're inducting Hall of Famers. You're doing this and that. And the Hall of Fame, I'm not really gonna lie, the Hall of Fame was kind of it was like lackluster this year. Like I didn't really see like a lot of like the Hall of Fame induction. Like there were so many people that like you could have seen in there, and it was just very lacking, very very lacking. It's um, I mean Triple H led the way. Um, there was the kiss between Shawn and Triple H, which made me laugh. Um, you know, a lot of things that were there, even having Vince mentioned, um, was monumental itself. Um, Doing an immortal moment between Bret Hart and Stone Cold. Ah, there were a lot of really good matches, and the Hart Austin match, it is a staple. But if you were gonna do an immortal moment or a moral, like yeah, an immortal moment, did you have to wait until WrestleMania 13? Don't you think the 12 other WrestleManias that came before it? Don't you think like there were other monumental matches you could have utilized instead of that? Like there's an abundance of things that like I like look at and it's like whoa, beautiful. Um, Also, I'm not I'm not saying to the fact that this is completely and utterly horrible, but the natural disasters or the natural disasters, like I get it, earthquake, typhoon, basically what they were. It's a great monumentous piece because like were they a big known tag team? Not really. Just two guys that I think like one was tugboat at one point. He turned into typhoon, and then it was like, okay, your earthquake and typhoon. Congratulations. What do you do? You know, you basically had monumental things. There were multiple other tag teams that you could have like literally thrown into there. Somebody brought up to the fact like you could have thrown like demolition. You know, demolition had so many tag team opportunities. You know, I mean, hell, you want to throw a tag team? Freaking honky tonk and Greg Valentine for crying out loud. How many times I've seen them like, yo, be a tag team all in itself. You know, Hercules and Dino Bravo of all things, like for a tag team. You know, there are monumental teams that were bigger than these guys. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm happy they're in there. Um, but could have done better on that one. Then Michelle McCool. Michelle McCool, great moment. Great everything as it goes. Um, More in itself, again, they could have been a little bit more. Um, just a little bit more to the fact, like other women that paved the way, other things that could have, you know, done a little bit more. Um, to the fact of like everything else that like basically went along with it. And I've seen that myself where like it's I understand you the Undertaker's wife. But could you have done a little bit more? Is there like a little bit on everything else that you could have understood to what where you were going with it, and you would have been fine. Um, so many more women that like I'm looking at that you could have did than Michelle McCool. Um, but like even like to the fact of like Lex Luger when they like putting him in, he didn't even show up for like for Mania. Like he was there for like just that one night. And I understand like he's DDP like doing like everything. Um, he's been fighting for like how he's been health wise, and it just it kind of weakened me. Um, to the fact that like they didn't have him in like the whole event. Like I remember, I remember sitting there like watching the top piece when they do like the inductees and they do the inductees like one night, and I don't remember seeing Lex Luger there. I saw the family of Earthquake, and then Typhoon himself was on one side, Michelle McCool, and then Bret Hart um, and Stone Cold were on the other side, and then Triple H just being in the center because like he's the main marquee. But I mean, if it was a great thing, great thing. Um, if you feel differently, tell me. Like I want to know. Like I'm not picking on anybody. I'm not looking at anything. Like it's just how I feel because there's a lot of monumental people that I've seen in the WWE over the years. And whether they have an axe to grind with them or not, these are the people that paved the way for everybody to be involved. So I don't care if you have like, this vendetta against somebody. I don't care if like you have a full on piece to it, whatever it be. Um, you know, it's basically a lot of that. So, but before I go into night two, because a lot was different in night two. Night one felt kind of like it was like 5 6 hours. Like it felt like it dragged. It felt so kind of like it was just like on the go of like a lot of things. And I've just I for myself have just been like disappointed within like, something that's hey, it's a 4 hour show and it feels like it's six and a half. Like why? Oh, a lot of it was a drag on me. Night two, the vibe was completely and utterly different. Um, night two just had this memorable feel of how do you put it? Like everything upon everything was just right there. It basically had like just the extra additive of hey, you watched a couple matches, they were kind of boring. Now all of a sudden you're looking at the new matches and you're looking at oh my god, these are These are upbeat. These are going. Um, and I know I'm going to show Jay in right there, but I'm actually going to use this as change it. Oh, I'm going to do that. Sorry, like learning as I go because like I don't have anybody else who can like actually do some of this stuff for me. So I'm gonna kind of improvise as I go. So with night two within the books, um, they started off everything like pretty wild. This women's championship match has basically been the aspiration of everything that goes like into play. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair basically had like an extra grind upon like wanting to slap themselves like silly. Um, Thinking they're the two dominant females, thinking like the fact that like they're the biggest powerhouses in the WWE. Um, that come to mind with everything that they're doing. The part that kind of like gets me is that Io Sky, because she's small, David and Goliath kind of thing. Like everybody was just okay. Well, Rhea's got to win this because she's got to take the title back. Oh, Bianca's going to win this because she hasn't really been pushing as much to it. So this will be like a huge monumental piece. Um, and we'll see how this goes. Right away, it was Bianca Rhea, Bianca Rhea, Bianca Rhea. Granted to the fact that like they're throwing haymakers and basically leaving it to town. Io Sky showing to the fact that small is also friggin' mighty. She was slapping everybody around. There was points to where like everybody was doing what you needed to do. It was all three women tangled up beyond belief, giving you like the match of matches. Like this was Bianca, Rhea, Io, Bianca, Rhea, back, forth, toe to toe. Like all three of these women wanted this championship. They wanted to be there. The difference between this championship and Tiffany's and Charlotte's is these three knew what the mission was, knew what the assignment was, knew what their job description was. Basically went in and handled business. Now, at the end of the day, it sucks to the fact that like, the two women that I thought were going to win this was going to take it. I myself did not think to the fact that Io Sky was going to retain. And it's a huge, huge push to the fact that, like, yes, she did. It screams volumes. And I'm proud and happy to the fact that, like, Io Sky has basically, like, taken, like, to another level. Great. The match, A minus. Some moments of like grandstanding, talking, certain other things, which I know one of the things I will give it is it's a downturn. It's one of the things I don't like. It's one thing like if you hit like a surprise move and then it's like, okay, ah, but it's like surprise move. Someone standing on like the bottom turnbuckle going, yeah, yeah, there's a lot. And the other moment I had with it was Bianca basically slapping Rhea. Like almost where like the match looked real instead of fake. And it kind of drew a little bit out of it because it's what are you two doing? You're fighting for a championship. No, no, no. Buzzkill. All within it. But then it went back to like your normally regularly scheduled match, and like they were battling like between each other. It's what you needed. It's what was good with it. Io still retaining your championship. Bianca did look absolutely distraught at the end. It's like almost like, hey, I'm probably never going to get another shot at this. Bianca's incredibly talented. If that's how she's feeling, like, yes, I understand. Like, oh my god, I just lost the champion. Oh my god, I'm gonna look like that. And Rhea looked completely demolished. Although, like when she came out, Io looked in her normal high, know, um, Japanese attire, the kimono, like the certain look, um, bringing proper culture. It was fantastic. Um, Bianca coming to basically people jump roping, like okay. And then roses beyond all over the place, and it's one of the things to where like it's the garters that certain women are wearing for their outfits and everything like that. It's not like straps or anything like that. It's just like a pure garter. It's like you're supposed to be like fighting women going back and forth, and like one of the things is fine, yes, be sexy, but the garter kind of takes away from it. It's not the right feel. And I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh man, like that's sexy looking." Dude, that's good, but this is wrestling. You know, we've changed from the '90s, 2000s, where it was like, bra and panties, to where like, I mean, not a lot of women wore like thigh highs to go into a match. Unless if you were Stacy Keebler and you were just looking to smack somebody. Um, and yes, the tights underneath are fine, perfect, fantastic. But when the garters and everything like that just come into play, it's not right. It's not something that like it needs to go. So the match, like I said, it was A minus. Um, aside like like I said, like a couple little additives that basically went into it. What am I looking at here? Oh, okay. I'm like looking at like one of the other things. And it's like, wait, women's titles? Like, isn't that what I'm just talking about here? Um, and this was basically like the title night. Um, because like this next match, I expected this to be like just 1, 2, it's done. Um, kind of like move along. Holy crap. Um, but Braun Breaker, Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, and Penta. Um, I understand Penta's new on the scene, and like he's making his deal. But one thing I'll say before like I even go into the match, the way Penta is showing himself is pure beauty. The way it's going, the way it's handling, the way it's doing, it's monumental to say the least of like how this is affected. It's great. Um, is it a lot of like the factor of what I'm looking at and you know it's kind of like lucha style, but with a bigger guy. Like he doesn't look as small as the other luchas. He looks like he could do the part, which is great. Um, but to the fact that like he carries himself like almost as like a like you could probably put him in the heavyweight picture. Um, And maybe due to his size, you may get away with it, like, for, like, a heavyweight championship. Um, but can I see Penta, like, you know, being in a strict card with multiple championships and, like, in the mix? Oh, yeah. Like, the way he carries is just in a good manner, like, for I'll give it praise and credit. Um, and Dominic and Finn, them coming into this match, it was like, okay, are we gonna see the end of Judgment? Is it gonna be like, the whole build up, the end all be all of like everything that you're expecting? Um, so there was good care. Um, and it was stuff like I got into, like it was stuff I was enjoying. Um, and yeah, like everything that it was doing was to that effect. So, and Braun Breaker's just been electric. Braun Breaker is that kind of guy that you want to watch all the time because you don't know what kind of excitement he's going to bring to the table. You don't know what he's going to do in order to get everything going to the method of like what it's bringing. Um, just him carrying the Steiner name with the championship and his mannerisms and just his agility alone has been probably everything under the sun of like what I would expect in certain ways. The match was good. I'm not gonna lie about it. It was very solid. It was very thorough. It showed off in manners that it needed to. Um, Dominic getting involved in certain times, um, where he kind of was in the right place at the right time, but the wrong place at the wrong time. Um, Braun Breaker just showing like sheer power, agility. Um, there was a point to where like Dominic and Finn were on the outside. Penta did a leap over the ropes, and when you saw it, Braun was at the point of the ropes where he like Penta went off, and I thought he knocked Braun off the apron where he fell, but I guess he didn't because he jumped downward. And as Penta went over, he landed, took out to Judgment Day, went to go stand, and just at that same point, while he was floating, Braun was then leaping from the stairs halfway across like the bottom area and just kind of shoulder checks right down. This is what makes Braun Breaker very excitable when you watch his matches. It's also what actually brings the spice for what you want to see in your matches. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But things like this like bring more to the table for what you want to look at versus, oh hey, it's back forth, back forth, back forth. There's nothing really exciting. Punch kick, punch kick, punch kick, punch kick, drop kick. Ooh. But at the end of the day, I get a lot on this. Something told me choose Dominic because it's worthy. And lo and behold, Dominic Mysterio won the match and is your new Intercontinental Champion. And when I'm sitting there talking with somebody, oh, dude, Dominic, why? Dominic has been the main bad guy. He was great when he took the North American Championship from NXT. But you've also had him lose so many times on the main roster. Dominic has been your bump boy. He's done everything, thrown everything at, like, you've thrown it at him, he's done it. He's taken, like, little slips. Is he ever gonna be heavyweight material? No. But then again, his dad wasn't either, and his dad was a two-time. Is there a possibility to the fact that, like, this could be more for Dominic? I hope so, because the reigning idea of Dirty Dom is still fantastic. Every single time he talks and listening to the boos still makes me laugh. He plays the part well. He carries himself amazingly. And I know that he's one of those guys that, like, yes, you're gonna hate him, but you're gonna love to do it. So putting a championship on him, absolutely beautiful. Considering also right now, depending upon what they do with, like, you know, another belt, like whether they do anything with Jey Uso, how they carry themselves, like going forward with anything. Braun Breaker would be probably that guy that you could put in a heavyweight situation. And if you're also having a feud, Dominic, Finn, and Penta would be the monumental piece. Because we did see cracks in the armor when it came to Judgment Day. Because there was a point where Finn Balor thought he was taking it and he was gloating, he was all hyped, and Dominic kind of drop kicked him from the back where he landed on the ropes. And he's like, oh man, I'm going to do a 619. And the minute he did the 619, there was Finn catching him. And right from there, it was downhill. And listen, if I'm with the tag person, I'm like putting them in the understanding, like, dude, this is a singles match. It's a fatal four way for a championship. And if you think I'm going to be your friend, like, yeah, I'll bust butt, like, I'll go in, but like, there's going to be a time where I got to slap you. You know, Dom knew the assignment. Dom took advantage of the assignment. And if it's going to like throw deception in the Judgment Day's ranks, good. Give it that drama, that feel, that excitement. Ooh, it's what I want to see. What's next? This match has basically been the hype. I'm going to take a sip of water. Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre in a Sin City street fight. The object to this was they desecrated this. And both of them had, of course, Drew McIntyre was hyping up a video game. I forget what the hell it was, like Doom Eternal or something like that. It's one of those things, the sponsorship. It's like, ooh, hey, who's gonna do this? And like he came down to the armor, with a kilt and all. It was like, okay, yeah, it's all right. Damian Priest though, like had the fire, he had everything burning, basically showing like, I'm the carry guy. Like, like I can't wait to like be this. And he's shown himself to like main event status. And like, Drew McIntyre has as well. But this match was basically like, hey, barroom brawl for two. You had everything under the sun, sink going back and forth. You had everything. You had everything being broken, being like thrown around. Guys going through tables. It was exactly what you needed for the fight of the night, just to continually go on. And it wasn't like to the fact like when Braun Breaker like kind of put Carlito right through the announce table. In the previous match, this was basically like, how do you end this? There's a claymore through a chair And as much as like it was a fight, Drew taking it kind of solidified him back to like, main event hype status. Um Damian, though, he's still young. He's gonna have that carry. And Damian Priest also himself is getting very popular, more so within like what he does. So it's great to have that carry and give Drew like a little bit of a win. But Damian's gonna carry himself higher even with the loss. So it's good that they went that way. The match itself, B, um, I feel like they could have got involved a little bit more. Um, I wasn't happy to the fact they kept it in the ring. Sin City Street Fight, I wanted to see a little bit more, maybe like, jockeying around Sin City, going around the arena, a little bit more than like just keeping it isolated, which was a smidge, you know, I mean, like, let's put it this way: like, you go on Raw, and you're watching Raw, and like, you see a fight like this, they're gonna be breaking out. They're gonna be going to the concession stands. They're gonna be throwing popcorn, peanuts, pretzels. They're gonna be going through the crowd. Next thing you know, they're outside by a dumpster, and everything's being thrown on cars. Um, and I mean, that basically was the hype for like what was going on between them both. I just expected to see a little bit more street fight and not just, oh, hey, wrestling match right in the ring and like it is how we're gonna. Um, even though I thought the match was good, and I'll give it its props, it wasn't my favorite. Um, Drew McIntyre to me has just been like really stale. I understand like people like him. He's gonna go through the ranks. He's gonna get like up there again. But for match wise, especially like there's just certain guys who know how to bad guy. If you know how to push the right buttons, you know how to get everything rolling. Drew McIntyre's kind of like that whiny guy that like, oh man, we're going here again. Oh, oh my god, chicken noodle soup again. Oh. So after a time when you hear that a lot, you kind of get a little bored. So for me, you just move on with it. And I kind of really haven't focused on Drew McIntyre a lot. Um, I know he's had the build up with Damian Priest. I know there's been like an abundance of like stuff that's gone on there and done so much. Um, just looking at that aspect, it's you just need that piece to like actually go forward. Like I said, overall, I'd still give it a B. Um, like I said, there was just a little bit more than I expected out of it. It it did hold, did its job. The women's titles. Hey, so Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, they are champions, and they were supposed to face Lila Valkyria and Bailey. However, it looks to the fact that Bailey is going to be injured for like a little bit. And how did they actually get her off TV? Well, during the Saturday night show, they had someone attacking Bailey to where she injured her arm, shoulder, etc. Now the work was completely crap. But Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez walking over, oh blah. So Adam Pearce gives Lila Valkyria 24 hours, as the match is on Sunday. Gives her 24 hours to find a partner. And who does she find? Becky Lynch. That's right, the man. How do you have a WrestleMania moment? You come back and fight the person who quote unquote kept talking about putting you on the shelf all the time. So it was a Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch moment, and it made sense. A lot of people were talking about Soraya or Paige. Um, some people were like actually going off the hey, it could be like one of the girls from NXT. Um, and there was rumor to the fact that like it could be Becky. And yes, it could have made sense, but here's where it made perfect sense. Becky Lynch and Lila Valkyria come from the same land. They come from over Ireland wise. Lila Valkyria has been learning from Becky for like a lot of the time, so it's tutelage. Liv Morgan was one of the ones making claim to the fact that she put Becky on the shelf. Now you tie everything together, and it's fantastic. Now here's where my night 1 to night 2 connection comes in. Becky Lynch had not been in a ring, I believe, since 2003, 2004. No, 2023, 2024. So it's basically been over a 12-month span. When she came back in, she looked great. Very little ring rust, looked like she was handling everything, going right to work, doing everything that she was doing. It did not in any which way look like Charlotte Flair. Because a lot of people, when Charlotte Flair came back in the Rumble, oh, it's ring rust. Oh, it's this. And especially during the Tiffany match, oh, it's ring rust. Oh, it's this. Like, are you training? Like, if I'm doing training and my training wheels are on and I'm doing everything I'm doing, I'm going to know what I'm doing. So if this person, for whatever reason, is telling you that this is not working, take their heed. Everything that she was doing was a mess. In comes Becky Lynch, and I'm like, oh man, is this going to be like Lila Valkyria? And then Becky's going to throw a couple punches and maybe like do a man, like, the man slam, and like that's it. No, Becky did drop kicks. She did clotheslines. She got involved. She was running around. She looked like she was only out of action for a month. What does that hold to Charlotte Flair? One had a baby and basically was putting everything under the sun to their training. Someone had cosmetic surgery, and then what? You just forgot to the fact of training? Because, like I said, one looked amazing. The other one looked like shit. I said it. Don't care. But yes, Becky did put on a grand show. It was fantastic for how it was carried out. It was fantastic for how it looked. At the end of the day, your new champions. The only part I didn't like at the end, Michael Cole basically making an assumption to the fact that we're going to call Lila Valkyria Lila Two Belts. No. I understand to the fact that Becky's involved. Becky was Becky Two Belts, but she was both women's champion. Wasn't that kind of champion. Where you're the Intercontinental and then you're also, I mean, yes, it's two belts. And if you're kind of throwing a punch at Mercedes Moné, give it a rest. Give it up. Like, nobody cares. Like, you don't have to say it. But overall, that match, the excitement everything, I'd give it a B. Um, the work, the surprise, everything, like yeah, like maybe like A minus B plus. Um, somewhere within the fill. Um, there was a lot that like actually worked with it. Um, that basically got into the notion. So for me, yeah, it was a high end match. I mean, I'm not going to say like, oh my god, it like pushed me over the edge, but it was there. Then we come up to this: AJ Styles, Logan Paul. I like AJ Styles, and I like Logan Paul because he's got that agility piece. He's very electric. He's someone you want to watch in the ring. You get, kind of motivated. We're like, oh man, what's he gonna do next? Is he gonna jump? Is he gonna clothesline? Is he gonna like make some like weird move? Is he gonna do something that like you don't really want to see, but you really want to see it because you want to see if he executes right? Um, yes, there are golden opportunities um, within that he does, and even within everything that like goes on, it's something you want to see. It's a spectacle to behold. And especially where Logan Paul has not been doing this for long, but yet he acts like a ring veteran. He acts like someone that you can watch and like you're gonna learn something from. You're gonna enjoy the match from, and you do. AJ Styles is very technical, very like he's old school. He's got like a lot of tricks in the books, a lot of things that like basically carries into it, and the match was solid. Um, it would have been higher on my scale. However, a lot of things just didn't make sense. Um, it seemed slow at times. The match, even though like I know it wasn't long, it seemed like it dragged on and on. Um, but then like one of Logan Paul's buddies is there with brass knuckles. Um, and then it's carrying Cross, which to me just made no sense. And then AJ Styles throws Logan Paul's buddy over to the wall, and Karrion Cross hands him the brass knuckles. I was like, oh, go use them, use them. AJ throws the knuckles away and punches Karrion, and then that's all you see of Karrion Cross. All that just to get hit. Kind of feeling off about that. Like I said, all in all, I definitely giving it a C plus because there were things that, like I said, it was slow at times. A lot of it just didn't make sense, and when you're up and like watching, hey, like this storyline, Logan Paul's like kind of like singing himself, like about it. He's doing like new moves. I mean, the drone thing he did when he came down, like he was holding a drone and he like basically there was like six of them on the screen. It was hyped up. It's basically giving attention to him. Cool, great. But you forgot one small thing. You still have to do what the match entitles you to do. So when you're not doing that, it's kind of missing out on the whole piece. I myself I didn't get into it. I didn't see a lot to it. Um, and the carrying cross thing, just like how he showed up and like how he was presenting, it was really lost on me because I get it. I understand why it was there. I understand like the idea of what it was supposed to be, but it just it didn't hold water with how like the expectation was. Um, I did expect to be a little bit more, um, curiosity, but time will tell. Like for what you're gonna see, um, and like how it's gonna pertain into like everything. Because if it's something that continues to go and it's now AJ Styles carrying Cross, okay, maybe it'll make sense. But the whole idea of carrying Cross and how he's been on the main roster has really, really friggin' bored me. Like having like whatever disciple thing he was doing and having Paul Ellering in there. I mean, Paul Ellering, I love, but the other two guys, again, it just can you just be yourself, create yourself, go back to like being the NXT carrying. I'll take one out of my friend's playbook. Go back to being the old NXT carrying Cross because you meant something. Like you come up here and you're basically acting like you're um oh god, I can't even think of his name because that's how much he doesn't exist anymore. Um I don't want to say Braun Strowman. Let me see if I can see like recently released. Um so yeah, Authors of Pain. For those guys. I don't think it was during this. I don't think it was no. Baron Corbin. I remember because he always called himself the Lone Wolf, and like for everything like that was expected. Yeah. Um. Like Karrion Cross being in that aspect. I mean, Baron Corbin when he came up to the main roster, he was trash. Um. And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, he wasn't booked right. He didn't carry himself right." Dude, he didn't like. They gave him so many personas. And what you do is when you're given a persona, you're meant to carry it, but you're meant to do something with it. If you make it like an absolute dud, then it means you can't do it. But if you sit there and you make something out of nothing, then there's a possibility that you can have endless possibilities. Now, the reason why you go through 5 or 6 gimmicks is because when you do the gimmick, great. Like New Day. New Day took pancakes, unicorns, and bootios to like a whole new level. But it wasn't just to the fact of like, oh yeah, oh man, we got this new cereal, Bootios. No, dude, what do you want for breakfast this morning? Hey, let's have some Bootios. They didn't push it aside. They owned it. They made it. Then came the pancakes. Then came everything else. Unicorns. Okay, they had the Rock call like them like wearing unicorns like horns on their head, rhinoceros penises, or llama penises, or whatever the hell they called them. When you get the Rock making fun of you like that, you've basically made it. So, yay, great, cool, beyond belief of what you can do with this because it's there. I mean, so there's that match. Like I said, I didn't care for it much. The match itself was really good, but just too drawn out. But now we've got this. So Randy Orton was slated to battle Kevin Owens. Well, oh god, Kevin Owens has a neck injury, can't go. So what's the next best thing? You hold a option to see who is going to be a person that Randy Orton can fight. Hey, locker room, you want a WrestleMania moment? Go against Randy Orton. Don't worry, you'll hold yourself. You'll be fine. Comes the day that you've got to actually show who the opponent is. And who is it? To everybody on YouTube, yes, I am showing a picture of Joe Hendry. No, I am not kidding. That was his opponent. TNA World Champion Joe Hendry. And I believe in Joe Hendry. I just had no idea he was 36 years old. Wow. So Joe Hendry answers to the question mark of Randy Orton. Great. So now we've got Randy Orton and Joe Hendry in the same ring. And it was one of the most beautiful RKOs I've ever seen in my life because the match was squash. It was squash basically for what it was. Randy Orton celebrating 20 years of WrestleMania. And the one thing that you see is like, okay, Randy Orton in the ring, he's going to fight somebody, and he's doing a nice little back and forth with Joe Hendry, and Joe Hendry kicks up, and he stops, he looks, and the minute he turns around, he gives the Joe Hendry smile right into an RKO. Perfectly done. It was just one of those, hey, let's give Randy like a little bit of fun, a little bit of love. At the end of the match, Randy Orton helps him up. You know, he raises his hand, he has him like all over the place. And then just as he's in the center of the ring, another RKO. Exactly what's needed for everything like that. Beautiful. Beautiful. So Randy Orton got his moment in time. To me, perfect. 20 years of Randy Orton in the match. Like I said, I'm not even going to rate this because it was no matter what, you knew Randy Orton was having a WrestleMania moment. And it just so happened to be against the TNA World Champion. It's great that Joe Hendry made the call to come out and be a part of WrestleMania. Now Joe Hendry has a WrestleMania moment. He's not even with the company. So in my mind, it holds it down. Here we are to the last match of the night. John Cena, Cody Rhodes, the C Nation versus the son of the son of a plumber. When I saw the match, I don't know if anybody else does this. When you see the last match, you know to the fact that that's the match that's going on. Do you ever look at the clock and say hey, we've got about 30 to 45 minutes of this match to go straight on? So I think it was 10:12 Eastern time. I look at the match, okay, it's about to start. Probably gonna have the you gotta walk down, you gotta do everything. And I looked and I'm like, are they really going to have John Cena go 35 minutes against um against Cody Rhodes? Because this is gonna kind of make me laugh. Well, lo and behold, yeah. And I know how they did it. Now what? So the one thing that made me a little nervous was the fact that John is an older guy. His body's starting to break down. He's not a ring guy anymore. And you saw how it was, I think it was last year or the year before, where he fought Solo. The match was horrendous. Him and Cody did it was spaced, it was slowed down. It was okay. What's the texture? Are you actually going to go to the John Cena winning? Are you actually going to make the buzz that Cody Rhodes is going to hold? Who's going to come down to the ring? Who's going to make everything go? And John Cena did the 15 moves he knows how to do. He handled everything as properly as possible. There was a couple Cody cutters. There was AAs. There was the attitude adjustments. There was FUs. There was a lot that basically was going down, and it took Travis Scott to come down. When you either, at this point, I was still on the fence. Is it he's going to bop up and Rhodes is going to take it? Or is he going to get involved and Cody's going to kind of flop? Well, Travis Scott had his moment of fame, pulled a ref right out of the ring. Cody is focusing on him. Cody hits him with the Cody cutter. Cena's holding the belt. He's ready to hit him. And Rhodes stopped Cena from hitting him. And then just as Rhodes was about to hit him with the belt, Cena turned into the no. You don't want to be me. You don't want to be me. So Rhodes put the belt down and Cena kicked him right in the Aggies. That's right. Kicked him right in his giggleberries. And what did he do? He hit him with the belt. Took the pin. Cena is your new world champion. It's not even so much as Cena is the world champion. Cena is your world champion who doesn't care. Like, I've always seen hustle, loyalty, respect, like, the salute for the guys, the everything like that. This man, his Titantron, his music hit, and it's black and white. It's all black. It's just John Cena in white letters. It looked so cringe, but it was so perfect for them. Like, you would think you'd get mad at this. There was nothing to get mad at. This was moments that were happening that just sitting there like, this is great. You don't get horrible at this. You don't like throw this out the door. And I'll give it to John Cena. He carried himself perfectly well. Granted, like I said, the match was slow. But for the understanding of who John Cena is, I can understand why you slowed it down. Am I going to give the match an A? Maybe like a B, B minus. There was a hype. There was everything you needed it to be. There was everything that you expected it to be. But there was still that little element missing that, like, yes, if you were going at a fast tone, at a fast pace, like normal John Cena matches are, would you have still gotten an A out of it? No. You maybe would have got like a BB plus. But it's just the story, the ambiance, and everything that was building up for who John Cena was and John Cena is. That's what made it where you want to be. Like, that's what you basically wanted to see. So for me, it's like, oh, I've got to enjoy this. And it was monumental watching Cena win a championship again. But the Cena coming back winning it, did he do it for him or was it for company? Because if you think about it right now, John Cena is the record holder for how many times like that belt has been won and in someone's possession. And the person he beat out is Ric Flair, a guy that the company is basically trying to wash their hands with. A guy that basically, like, yeah, Rick was wonderful all over the place. But now it's like Rick is just kind of bunky, and it happens when you actually get thrown under the bus and, your public enemy are like number 9 between like wrestling fans. Why? Because you showed how much like you're a plagiarized jerk. So, with the Ric Flair stuff aside and John Cena winning, night 2, like I said, the tempo completely different. Um, the way it handled itself, a different animal. Now, could you have taken 1 or 2 of the matches on the other end and put it in the beginning and had 2 nights of pure solidness? Yes, because 1 or 2 of those bad matches from, the night before would have actually just cross-referenced and, like, everything else basically would have made it what it is. Um, just seeing Jey Uso win, that puts you over the top. Um, where you like LA Knight, but you're also rooting for the fact of, um, you're rooting for Jacob Fatu to like actually be the winner in the match. Beautiful. That again gets a hype. When you're looking at something of Jade Cargill versus Naomi, is it a women's match? Yes. Do you have people that get involved with women's matches because they enjoy them? Yes. Is this something that you would have sat there and watched? I would have got a plate of nachos. The story just had it has so many holes. It's not like the Drew McIntyre Damian Priest story where you've built it up and hyped it so much. And yes, Naomi and Jade Cargill was hyped, but it was trash hype. Um, looking at the story between Rhodes and Cena, yes, Cena wasn't in the ring, but you knew the fact that like he wanted to be there because it was a WrestleMania, but he acted like he didn't want to be there because it was wrong. It was his last hurrah. And he was meant to like actually show he didn't care about his last hurrah. Unlike Charlotte Flair, who seemed like she would have gotten a perm in or more liposuction or heaven forbid any other bodily like control than what she already had because it just wasn't there. She didn't have the it factor. If you had that as a night two beginner, and then everything else on night two like went as it planned, probably would have been a solid night. There was a lot missing. It's a solid B product. You know, were there a couple A's in the product? Yes. Um, Seeing certain things. Also, Stone Cold Steve Austin almost having an issue with a four wheeler where he almost creamed, like, he did cream the barricade because the barricade for where he hit was actually dented. And if he probably went through it, he probably would have wiped out like two or three people and it would have been bad. So there were people like, oh, miss, we got to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And he goes over, is like, are you okay? Still did the promo, still did everything he did. But oh man, wow. Wow. Now, with this, do I have a favorite WrestleMania moment of this year? The Joe Hendry thing is probably like a really good moment. I'm not gonna lie. Um, the Dominic Mysterio actually winning the Intercontinental title, that floors me. Um, Jey Uso winning the World Championship, that like puts me like over a little bit. Like I'm not gonna lie, but that's pretty hefty. Um, there's not really like there was there was one moment. It was during like the triple threat main event that actually got me really excited. And I'm sitting there like, oh my god, like this is actually really good. So Roman Reigns goes to spear Seth Rollins. WrestleMania moment solidified. The minute he leaps, Seth Rollins jumps back, grabs him at a right position, and just lands a pedigree perfectly on the mat. It was perfect prime. Like, this is sticking in my mind each time. The other time would probably be Carlito going through the table. Make me laugh. But it's not like a highlight. Like Pete Rose getting tombstoned is always like a personal highlight of mine. Watching Mr. T, because I knew how hyped Mr. T was. Um, watching a record streaking Undertaker at 20-0, 21-0, and then having the 21-1 because Brock Lesnar beat him. Watching Triple H's themed helmets, and everything else he did. Watching Triple H versus Sting with DX and the NWO involved was priceless. The Rock bringing out Ronda Rousey. Um, Rock versus Hogan, monumental moment. Um, what was it? WrestleMania 14. Um, Stone Cold capturing his first title from Shawn Michaels. Um, just a moment there. Mike Tyson. Let me see if I can find like WrestleMania moments. The top 41 moments in WrestleMania history. This is perfect. Okay. This is through Yahoo Sports. I really gotta like break. This problem. Okay. So it's not too bad, but it actually breaks a little bit. Hi, everybody. So the top 41 moments in WrestleMania history, everything's in chronological order. This works. So number one is WrestleMania from March 31st. Hogan and Mr. T with Superfly Jimmy Snuka against Roddy Piper, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and Cowboy Bob Orton. Hey, look, Randy's dad. First ever WrestleMania set the stage for the next 40 years. Stars such as Cyndi Lauper, Mr. T, and Muhammad Ali in the fold. Like much of the older WrestleMania main events, the wrestling itself took a backseat to the spectacle of it all. But the star power and precedent set by the event, and this match in particular, made it deserving of a spot on this list. You always want to go the originality. WrestleMania 3, Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. That is probably, to me, if you're a huge wrestling fan, that is probably one of the most iconic wrestling matches for the Intercontinental title that I've probably ever seen. Why? Because it brings a spectacle to everything that you're looking at, and it's what you expect out of everybody. The Intercontinental title at the time was known as the Workers' Belt, usually carried by the company's workhorse star. So basically, it put Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat on the map. How great the match was. Ricky the Dragon, already freaking well known, wins the match. Woo, woo. And then again, WrestleMania 2 didn't have highlights, according to Yahoo. However, in order to make up for it, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant for the WWF Championship is probably one of the biggest moments. Why? Because it was the first time Andre the Giant had been body slammed, at least on tape. um, no, I really don't know. And that's actually true. That's great. Unlike Savage Steamboat, this match was far from a technical masterpiece. It really didn't matter when you factor in the build of Andre and Hogan's friendship falling apart, and the climactic moment where Hogan slams the Giant before hitting his leg drop. The match is as iconic as any other on the list, and the headlines of WrestleMania that cemented the event status as WWE's biggest of the calendar year. Now, to me, WrestleMania 3 was always like one of the biggest of the biggest. WrestleMania 1 basically cemented it. You tried to get star power, you tried to get everything under the sun there because you wanted basically people to pay attention. WrestleMania 2 basically did the same thing. WrestleMania 3 is, to me, where you have the match between Hogan and Andre the Giant, but then you also have the match between uh, Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat, where it solidifies you as a fan to the fact that this is what you want to see. This is what you want to look at. So especially when you're put yourself in my shoes, I'm a 7, 8-year-old kid and I'm watching this stuff. And it's like, oh, so now I'm in awe. So now as I grow older, what do you think I'm going to want to watch? I'm going to compare those matches right there. WrestleMania 5, Hulk Hogan versus Macho Pan. Macho Pan. Hey, Macho Pan. No, Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the championship. Hogan and Savage embodied this era of WWE. Not surprising that we see them present early and often on the list. The Mega Powers have been together for roughly a year, unofficially and officially, before a split in the lead up to WrestleMania 5, which saw the champion Savage working heel as Miss Elizabeth was torn between the two former friends. Savage's ring psychology shines early in the match, and his chemistry with Hogan is strong. The ending follows a traditional Hogan formula for the time, giving fans a payoff worthy of the feud. So when you were watching like Saturday Night's Main Event, or like if you were watching anything that had to do with WWE, the build-up between Hogan and Savage was happening. And you could see it because they were gunning to make Savage the heel. And it made Hogan feel like he was this savior, if you will. To me, it was still. I wish the Mega Powers were still together. You knew they were coming to an end. It's kind of yeah. WrestleMania 6, Ultimate Warrior versus Hogan, title versus title. Now, I had a Hulk Hogan poster. I had a Warrior poster. What was the greatest thing about this? I saw two of my favorite superstars at the time throwing down. What was bad about this? One of them had to win. So, to me, WrestleMania 6 also embarked a new era. And it was the new era of getting away from like the Hogans and doing something that was a little bit more attached than the same thing over and over again, which is where Hulk Hogan basically was. It allowed new blood to come into the fray. And with the new blood that came in, it allowed and did a little bit more that brought a little bit more perseverance into the age of the events, i.e., a new over star in the Ultimate Warrior. Two titles would be on the line in the same match, up to the point Hogan had been in 4 of the 5 WrestleMania main events, winning them all. So him putting over Warrior, one of the biggest stars of this era, was noteworthy. The stakes more than the match itself warrants inclusion for any WrestleMania best of list. Mind you, it was also the start of Hogan getting out of the company and going elsewhere. WrestleMania 5, 6, 7. Undertaker versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka. A relatively forgettable match on the mid card of WrestleMania turned out to be the start of perhaps the most revered streak in wrestling history. Undertaker pinning Snuka after the Tombstone Piledriver to begin a stretch where the legendary character won 21 straight matches on the biggest stage. Now, mind you, nobody has won 21 straight since, and it's 21 straight. Even if he has that loss, it's still 21 straight years of WrestleMania wins. WrestleMania 10, Owen versus Brett. Perfect choice in the early stages of WrestleMania 10 at Madison Square Garden, brother versus brother, a showcase of pure wrestling ability between two of the best in the industry at the time. The DNA of so many WrestleMania matches in the future can be traced back to this contest. The storyline and execution here is top notch, sets the stage for one of the best WrestleManias ever. Even the finish, as sudden as it was, came as a surprise when Brett slated to face Yokozuna for the WWF Championship later in the night. Um, just looking at that and knowing to the fact that it was brother versus brother, hyped up, and Owen was at the top of his game. He didn't have a lot of people that liked him, but he was marketable. And granted, anytime you watched him, yes, he was a nugget, but he was a fantastic wrestler nugget. Just wanted to say nugget. WrestleMania 10 again. Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title. Second WrestleMania 10 match to make our list is an all-time classic between Click members Shawn and Razor. Some aspects of this match haven't aged well considering how ladder matches evolved in the years that followed. Michaels and Ramon pulled off truly jaw-dropping spots for the time with impeccable pacing and storytelling. It wasn't the first time Michaels performed at the Showcase of the Immortals, and he didn't win, but this was the start of a mid-90s run that cemented him as Mr. WrestleMania. Yes, when you do watch this match, you're like, oh my god, ladder match, how old. But if not for this match, you wouldn't have your Hardys. You wouldn't have your Edge and Christians, that like take this match and personify it for what it is. It's a great match. It's created to be that great match, and it's everything that you want and then some. WrestleMania 12, Shawn vs. Brett in an Iron Man match. Michael and Hart's feud, real life and storyline, dominated the 90s and made some of the greatest matches of all time, including the main event of WrestleMania 12. Very few wrestlers in history have competed in an Iron Man match. Only one has ever taken place at WrestleMania. Climax of the match comes as time expires, with Hart putting Michaels in the sharpshooter. With no man having scored a pinfall or submission, the match heads to overtime. Michaels eventually wins 1-0 and captures the championship, the first time in his career, leading to one of the iconic commentary lines in wrestling history: boyhood dream has come true. This is where you knew the fact that dreams and anything else could actually take place, and actually do what you wanted, because yeah, Shawn Michaels just being a tag team guy cemented everything you wanted to see. WrestleMania 13. Stone Cold Steve Austin in a submission match with Ken Shamrock as the special guest referee. Austin's meteoric rise began almost a year earlier as he coined his iconic Austin 316 slogan, en route to winning the 96 King of the Ring event. Hart and Austin had been feuding for several months, with the payoff coming at WrestleMania in a submission match. Arguably the greatest submission match ever, the lasting image remains of bloodied Austin passing out in the grip of Hart's sharpshooter. Austin did not submit, but Hart was declared the winner and battered Austin after the match, cementing Austin as a fan favorite and becoming one of the greatest runs in WWE history. I believe that's also what they titled. WrestleMania 14. Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels WWF Championship with Mike Tyson as special guest enforcer. That was Tyson turning on Michaels, giving Austin a quick 3 count for the win before celebrating with the new champ. It was beautiful because everybody thought Mike Tyson was DX material. WrestleMania X7, Dudley's, Edge, and Christian versus Hardys of the Tag Team Championships in TLC 2. Yep. TLC was held in TLC 1. TLC 1 was held in the TLC match. And then, of course, you're getting TLC 2, which, oh my God. This wasn't the first time these three legendary tag teams faced off at Mania. It wasn't even the first TLC match, but it's by far the most memorable. As chaotic as the match is from the opening bell, it never becomes overwhelming. Even with interferences from Lita, Spike Dudley, and Rhino, the three biggest spots from this match are immediately recognizable to WWE fans. Jeff Hardy's swanton through Rhino and Spike Dudley, Edge spearing Jeff Hardy as he hung from the title belts, and Bubba Ray and Matt crashing from the ladder through the four tables outside the ring, with Edge and Christian winning the match. All three teams are linked to it. This is how amazing history is with this. WrestleMania X7, Stone Cold versus The Rock for the WWF Championship. A quasi rematch on the main event from WrestleMania 15. Austin and The Rock face off the second time. The build for this match was peak Attitude Era, including one of the greatest pre-match montages in WWE history, featuring Limp Bizkit's My Way. The biggest moment came at the conclusion of the match as Austin attacked The Rock with a steel chair provided by Vince McMahon, winning the WWF Championship and pulling off one of the most surprise heel turns ever in the process. That's when he became the corporate stooge. WrestleMania 18, Rock vs. Hogan. Dubbed Icon vs. Icon, WrestleMania match could be the greatest in Hogan's career. Who returned to WWE after the demise of WCW, was still working heel with his legendary NWO faction. The Toronto crowd quickly forced Hogan and Rock to switch roles as they booed Rock, cheered Hogan, creating an electric atmosphere that was unmatched by any other contest on the card that night. The moments that the two shared after the match, a handshake, rescue, and poised for the crowd, resulting in a generational moment, turned Hogan face for the first time during that WWE run. Yep, just knowing to the fact that like Hogan was a bad guy coming back into the WWE. Oh. WrestleMania 19, Brock vs. Angle for the championship. Lesnar and Angle had legitimate wrestling credentials as former NCAA heavyweight champions and 1996 Olympic gold medalists, respectively. Newer generation of fans are used to a very typical Lesnar formula during his most recent WWE work, but during his first stint, Lesnar was as explosive and talented a star as WWE had on its roster. Angle and Lesnar show off equal parts technique and power during this main event, which features one of the wildest and scariest spots in WrestleMania history, as Lesnar lands on his head, attempting a shooting star press across the ring. Incredibly, Lesnar is able to finish the closing sequence of the match and pick up the win. Then you get WrestleMania 20, and then we're halfway there. Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle for the championship. Angle made the list here in back-to-back years, unsurprising considering how talented he was at his peak in WWE. Guerrero, a beloved star who reached new heights when coming over from WCW, is at his best in this match, showing off his rare combination of speed and power in the ring. The climax of the match, Guerrero using shady tactics to escape an ankle lock and leverage the rope for a pin, shows that even though the championship wasn't always above board in the rings, fans still loved the Latino people. Got it. WrestleMania 21, first Money in the Bank ladder match. WrestleMania has a long history of iconic ladder matches, none as impactful as Money in the Bank. The stipulation guaranteed the winner a chance to cash in an opportunity for a championship of their choosing, most often the WWE Championship. Edge would win the inaugural match, which became a WrestleMania staple before breaking off and becoming the fifth biggest annual event. Thank God they did. Mickey James versus Trish Stratus for the Women's Championship. During an era where women's wrestling wasn't anywhere close to what it is today, James and Stratus not only told one of the most memorable stories in WWE, but had one of the greatest women's matches in WrestleMania history. Storytelling and ring psychology reigned supreme throughout as James focused on Stratus's leg for the majority of the match, and much to the surprise of the crowd, picked up the win over the champion on WWE's biggest stage. Oh boy. And then there's this one. WrestleMania 23, Bobby Lashley with Donald Trump versus Umaga with Vince McMahon in a battle of the billionaires with Stone Cold Steve Austin as a special referee. The stipulation with this was whoever won got to keep their hair. So the beauty part is the picture is Donald Trump, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Bobby Lashley shaving Mr. McMahon's head. It was also to the fact where Stone Cold Steve Austin actually stunned our now president. WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair in a retirement match. The part where he whispers, "I love you," and I'm sorry. We've all seen the meme, but what occurred at WrestleMania was truly a special moment. Flair and Michaels shared the stage in what would be Flair's retirement from in-ring competition with WWE. Second longest match on the card featured two of the greatest to ever wrestle, earned countless accolades. Flair has called the I'm sorry, I love you quit from Michaels his favorite WrestleMania moment and claims it was completely unscripted, adding to the overall length of the match. Okay, this one's actually like a three-parter. WrestleMania 25, WrestleMania 26, and WrestleMania 27. The first one is Shawn versus The Undertaker. The second one is Shawn versus The Undertaker in a streak versus career. And then the third one is Triple H versus Undertaker in a nose hold barred. Up there's WrestleMania 28 is the fourth one. Triple H versus Undertaker in Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels as special guest referee. Rather than writing about each individual match during the epic 4-year stretch, we're combining them. Michael's first showdown with Undertaker had a relatively normal build. HBK simply trying to end the Undertaker's 16-0 WrestleMania streak. That match, which was named 2009 Match of the Year by Pro Wrestling Illustrated and Wrestling Observer newsletter, seemingly demanded a rematch the following year as Michaels became obsessed with ending the Undertaker streak, so much that he put his own career on the line at WrestleMania 26. The following year, Michael's storyline and real-life friend Triple H took on The Undertaker. The two had previously battled at WrestleMania 17, 10 years prior, but like Michaels was unsuccessful in ending the streak, the story between the three Attitude Era stars ended at WrestleMania 28 with an all-time Hell in a Cell, accumulating the Undertaker's improving to 20-0, and the three men marking the end of an era in an iconic photo at the top of the ramp in Miami, Florida. While it's hard to rank them individually, it's fair to share that these are four of the greatest matches in WWE history and a must-watch for any wrestling fan, past, present, and future. That was WrestleMania 29, John Cena versus The Rock for the championship. The match gets looked back upon somewhat unfairly because it was a repeat main event from WrestleMania 28. Certain contingents of fans have begun to sour on John Cena, and an unforeseen injury to The Rock in the beginning stages created some uneven pacing early. All that said, the final two-thirds of this main event match were spectacular, and the fans fully bought in by the end. Cena and Rock both utilized callbacks to their match from the year prior, and leveraged the familiarity with one another as in the storytelling year. Fittingly, 11 years after Rock and Hogan shared their passing of the torch, Rock and seemed to do the same, this time with the tables turned. Here it is. WrestleMania 30. 10 years ago. Undertaker entered WrestleMania 30, perfect 21-0 at the Showcase of the Immortals, which set the stage for one of the most surprising match results in WWE history. Lesnar and Undertaker went toe-to-toe for more than 25 minutes, selling his second longest run time of the night, before Lesnar pinned the Phenom for the first time ever at WrestleMania. Fans were legitimately shocked. Memes anyone? Undertaker would only lose one more time at WrestleMania to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33. WrestleMania 30 also saw Daniel Bryan win it all, where he was holding two belts. Bryan's meteoric rise in WWE culminated in the run-up to WrestleMania. I don't know why that's there. Oh, that's there. This thing hates me. As fans revolted at the 2014 Royal Rumble and pushed for Bryan to be included in the WWE Championship match between Orton and Batista at 30. The Occupy Raw segment and overall Yes movement are among the greatest WWE moments of the 2010s. Facing a stacked deck and as a beloved underdog, Bryan would open the show with an excellent match against Triple H, storyline authority figure who had continually stood in Bryan's way, because he did not fit the prototype WWE star build, or eventually winning the main event and celebrating in the Superdome. WrestleMania 31. Seth Rollins. Rollins began with a losing effort in a singles match against Orton, resulting in one of the greatest RKO moments in WWE history. Ultimately, Rollins would leave Levi Stadium on top of WWE after cashing in his Money in the Bank contract due to the main event match between Reigns and Lesnar. One of the lasting WrestleMania moments of the past decade is Rollins sitting atop the entrance ramp, swinging the championship he had just won above his head. WrestleMania 32. That was the big one. Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks for the Women's Championship. A new era of women's wrestling was underway by the time these three took the ring to make their WrestleMania debuts. But a change came on this night 8 years ago as the Divas Championship was retired and placed with the Women's Championship. Banks had an all-time WrestleMania entrance as her cousin Snoop Dogg performed her theme music. Flair was accompanied to the ring by Ric Flair, who factored into the finish. And an otherwise standard WrestleMania, this match clearly stands out. Yay! WrestleMania 35, Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship, aka Kofi Mania. That was a huge build between an injury opened the door for one of the biggest organic builds in recent memory. Mustafa Ali, unable to compete at the Elimination Chamber in February of that year, it was replaced by Kingston, whose popularity surged as a member of the New Day. Fans rallied behind Kingston over the next 2 months as he began his journey to face Daniel Bryan. Kingston would beat Bryan, sparking a raucous reaction from the New Jersey crowd and become just the third Black WWE champion in history. It's disappointing. Third one? Jeez. WrestleMania 35, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. Don't ask me why I'm acting like Mr. Fish Odor. I have no idea. For the first time in history of WrestleMania, women would be main eventing at the biggest show of the year. Lynch began a stunning rise at SummerSlam the year prior, turning on longtime friend Charlotte Flair. Lynch went on to win SmackDown Women's Championship from Flair several weeks later, and the two continued their feud. An errant punch from Nia Jax would give Lynch a real-life injury and prevent her from facing Rousey at Survivor Series. Rousey would ultimately interfere and cost Lynch her title back in 2018. Lynch won the Royal Rumble, challenged Rousey at WrestleMania, and Flair was added in a winner-take-all scenario. A solid WrestleMania event ended with Lynch pinning Rousey and celebrating becoming Becky 2 belts and cementing herself as perhaps the most popular women's star of all time. This is where Charlotte shouldn't have been added. WrestleMania 36. Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt in a Firefly Funhouse match. WrestleMania 36 is unique for many reasons, considering it was the first to span 2 nights, and because of the COVID-19 pandemic, was forced to take place in front of no fans at the Performance Center. WrestleMania 36 marked the return of The Undertaker, who last performed in a squash match against Cena at WrestleMania 34. Due to the pandemic, WWE was forced to get creative with some of its matches, resulting in more cinematic experiences for The Undertaker Styles and Cena Wyatt showdowns. Both contests were entertaining, well received, despite not being traditional wrestling matches. The Firefly Funhouse still sticks out because of how many times it just changed John Cena. And I think that solidified him with being an actor. Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks for the Women's Championship, and Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship. This was at WrestleMania 37 and 38. If the 4 horsewomen ushered in a new era of women's wrestling in WWE, Bianca Belair captured it to new heights. Self-proclaimed EST of WWE stole the show at back-to-back WrestleManias. At WrestleMania 37, coming off a Royal Rumble victory, Belair main evented Night 1 against Sasha Banks, what is arguably the greatest women's match in the history of the Showcase of the Immortals, emerging victorious and capturing the first singles title of her career. This also marked the first time in WWE history 2 black women were in the main event of WrestleMania. The next year, after getting squashed by a returning Lynch at SummerSlam, Belair got revenge and won a championship at WrestleMania for the second consecutive year. While Belair Banks was the better match, Belair Lynch was among the best matches of the WrestleMania and gave the fans a significant payoff at SummerSlam's disappointing results. Okay, WrestleMania 38, Cody Rhodes returning. Everybody got excited for that. A relatively poor-kept secret, Rhodes' return still sparked pandemonium in Texas. Rhodes had left WWE years prior, became one of wrestling's biggest stars, even helping create WWE's first true competitor, nearly 2 decades in AEW. During his time away, Rhodes showcased in-ring ability and skills with the microphone that would turn him into one of, if not the most biggest star in WWE today. Rhodes used his patented entrance style and music, immediately won over fans by putting on a strong match with Seth Rollins, setting the stage for the next era of WWE. Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. Ooh. Johnny Knoxville joins Mr. T as the only celebrities on the list to actually compete in a WrestleMania match. Knoxville and Zayn feuded for more than a 3-month leading up to the event, both on and off programming. Truly fun match at WrestleMania 38 was the result with Knoxville's jackass cast member taking part, a giant mousetrap factoring into the finish, and Zayn showing off just how entertaining he could be across all aspects of the product. While it may seem like a throwaway moment for Zayn, whenever celebrity talent is involved in WWE, turns to trusted talent to deliver segments and matches that are memorable for fans. All parties came through here. There was Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos, WrestleMania 39. What initially began as a comical run with Zayn joining the Bloodline turned into one of the most well-executed stories in recent history. After months of building tension between Zayn and the Bloodline, the Star eventually turned on the dominant faction at the Royal Rumble, hitting Roman with a steel chair. Zayn would get so hot that a segment of fans wanted him to potentially replace Royal Rumble winner Cody Rhodes in the main event of Mania. Instead, Zayn and longtime best friend Kevin Owens teamed up to take on Jimmy and Jay for the tag titles in the main event of Night 1. Owens and Zayn would win, causing a crowd eruption and hinting a possible, potentially disastrous weekend. Sorry, that was actually a big yawn. I wasn't expecting that one. First step, okay, this is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. First step in Rhodes' 2-year finish the story angle happened in Los Angeles in 23. After going from undesirable to undeniable, Rhodes was closing WWE's signature show as the company's biggest and most marketable babyface. Reigns entered on a historic championship reign, was main eventing Mania for the third consecutive year, for the seventh time overall. Rhodes and Reigns built up tension in typical Mania event fashion, with interferences from the Bloodline as well as Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. In the end, Reigns' real-life cousin Solo Sikoa would take advantage of a distracted referee and drop Rhodes, leaving the crowd stunned, and the Heels Championship run continued. Looking back at my grades from last year, there were some moments that I marked higher on the overall WrestleMania 40 card. This was Sami Zayn defeating Gunther to win the championship. WrestleMania 40 marked one of the third consecutive showcase of the Immortals that Zayn managed to steal the show in his own right. Jack of all trades, Zayn carried a celebrity-driven jackass match, main evented and won the Tag Team Championship contest against the Usos, and then dethroned arguably the most dominant non-Reigns figure in recent history. In what was arguably the best pure wrestling match in either night's card. Even after a loss, this match also put Gunther on a clear path to winning the World Heavyweight Championship later in the year, which is worth mentioning, especially in retrospect. This was Drew McIntyre defeats Seth Rollins to win Heavyweight Championship. Damian Priest cashes in. McIntyre vs. Rollins was a strong opening match for night 2, especially considering the Visionary competed on both nights with a significant knee injury. As good as the match was, the reason this moment makes the cut comes after the initial bell. McIntyre defeated Rollins, mixed it up with CM Punk at ringside, which allowed Priest to cash in guaranteed championship match and defeat the Scottish psychopath to win the championship for himself. Money in the back cash in is always going to be one of the most exciting moments in WWE programming. The fact that it came at the WrestleMania just for the second time ever added to the aura of the moment. This also served as a major launching point for one of the WWE's best feuds, McIntyre and Punk. Makes perfect sense. And then the last one is we're going to wrap up because, oh my God, did I do it? WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes finishes the story. An Avengers-style moment in history, Rhodes finally capturing the WWE Championship doesn't just belong on this list. It could very well be the greatest main event in WrestleMania history. The Bloodline Rule stipulation ensured that there would be plenty of run-ins, upping the ante each time and creating absolutely perfect chaos involving the Bloodline, The Rock, John Cena, Seth Rollins, and The Undertaker. There's never been better technical matches and perhaps better kayfabe only storylines in WWE history. But when you look at the career arc of Rhodes and what he has meant to the wrestling industry and his ascent to being the biggest star, it may not be a better narrative in the history of professional wrestling as a whole. So, that's highlights of, well, according to Yahoo Sports, we'll have to find like some WrestleMania moments. But what I can say is, if you've gone through this whole video, first off, thank you, and thank you for hanging out with me. Secondly, what's your favorite WrestleMania moment? I want to know because I want to see where you guys rank everything else. You know, was it Pete Rose getting tombstoned? Was there more? Was it? I believe it was Classy Freddie Blassie, like dancing with the Peacock girls. It could be multiple things, but leave it in the comments and everything. And hopefully, to the fact that you guys had a wonderful WrestleMania weekend, and everything else. I will be back Wednesday when we're basically going to go through everything that's going on in sports. Celtics should actually be playing another game. The Bruins officially done for the year. We're still on Sweeney watch. When the day that Don Sweeney will be canceled, fired, and otherwise. So let us hope, let us pray, let us do everything in between. Also, a couple other things. I'm going to try to change some formats and everything as we're doing. So everything I'm doing here, please bear with me. I may have a couple things under my belt, but I am only me that's actually here. So we'll try to figure out what we can do from there on in. But until then, happy Sunday, early Monday, and whatever day you actually watch this, first off, thank you. Whether you're on iHeartRadio, whether you're on Spotify, whether you're actually rewatching the VOD here on YouTube, or either which way, Amazon Music or Apple, what is it? Apple Podcasts. First off, I thank you immensely because I've been enjoying making these and I'm going to continue making. Again, thank you much. This has been Boston Concessions. I am your host, Topher. We're an SSPN podcast as we hang out and everything with the boys. We will talk to you all soon. As I said, Wednesdays, Sunday nights, Wednesday nights. Thank you for joining this WrestleMania little upbeat piece, and hopefully you get to enjoy a little bit more. Everyone have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.